Wait, you know what I just noticed? Look at the flowers behind us.
Yeah.
Green, orange. Green,
I didn't notice
orange.
that.
Stop being a party pooper. If you noticed it, why didn't you say nothing?
I don't have to say everything.
You are lying. I just noticed
I'm
it.
not
She did not. I'm just pointing it out, okay? You did not notice it. Look at that. Look at that. We're so cute, bro. Oh, wee.
Hi, guys. You have to say hi.
Let's start over.
Hi, guys.
Hey, guys.
I am Niyah.
And I'm Serge.
And I'm the founder of Be and Not Of, Bino for short. It's a faith-based community for young adult believers. And right now we are in the topic of the month on relationships, specifically talking about singleness, engaged, dating, and marriage. And since we are engaged, we figured we get to share a little bit more about our story, what our season has been like for these past 7 months. One of the questions that we were asked for this topic was, what do you even do when you're engaged besides plan for a wedding? And there's a lot that we've been up to besides just planning for a wedding, just to prepare for marriage itself. And so we want to share those things for anyone who might find it helpful. Why don't you share a bit about our love story so far? So how long have we known each other? And, when did we get engaged? How long have we been engaged? Give them some context.
How much time do I have?
Not a lot, so please don't go into. We'll do a separate video if you're interested in our love story.
Yeah, we have a very interesting love story. It's kind of awesome. It really is. I think that's a better word to put it. But no, it was just an interesting journey. So she DM'd me initially on October 15th.
I thought we weren't going to go over the journey.
That is just a highlight. It's important for my guys out there, right? She slid in my DM first.
Whatever.
Anyways, so we started dating on November 1st of 2018, and we were dating for almost 2 years. Actually, I had planned to propose way before we hit our 2-year anniversary, and we got engaged on October 2nd of 2020. Best day of my life, a day before her birthday, so that was kind of an early birthday present. That was part of my plan. So again, if you guys want to know more about that, that is just a really awesome story to share. But yeah, that's...
And so we've been engaged for about 7 months now.
Yep.
And then our wedding's at the end of August, so we have just a few more months to go.
Last few months of singleness. Hey.
We actually started premarital counseling before we got engaged, and that was my idea. I came across someone who was giving marriage advice, and she suggested that you can do that. If you know you're going to get married to your person, then you can start premarital counseling before you even get engaged. I'd been going to therapy for about a year at that point, so I was very familiar with that kind of setting, and I thought it would be helpful for us, so I brought it up to you, and you agreed, and we got started with that. And I had no idea when I was going to be proposed to, so...
It's actually a pretty funny story. Pretty funny story. But when we started premarital counseling, it was right around maybe a month or two before the engagement. So I had to have a whole separate conversation with our premarital counselor, and I was straight up telling her, like, listen, just so you know, I'm gonna be upfront with you. I'm proposing to her in a few months, so please, like, when you talk about this whole engagement thing, don't mention it. I know you've been asking, question, kind of probing a little bit. So she was, just happy, just geeking and all that stuff.
Yeah, so we walked through a workbook called How to Save Your Marriage Before It Begins.
Before it starts.
Ding! And there is one for the guys, one for the girls. And it just walks you through different exercises to talk through discussions that maybe you normally wouldn't. Finances, sex, communication.
How to fight fair.
Yeah, and even like household chores, who's going to do what.
Conflicts, yep. It was just really awesome.
Now we're going to talk about the beginning of our engagement season, which basically was the end of 2020, so October through December.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that?
Ooh, how much time do you got again?
Oh,
All right, no, but just very high level. I mean, it was so exciting. I had actually, as part of this whole engagement thing, I mean, it's so layered. Again, if you want the story, please let yours truly know, and we'll make a video about it. But I had planned a trip, and it was actually going to be our first getaway trip as an engaged couple. She thought we were going there as boyfriend, girlfriend. I was like, girl, you don't know. But we went there. It was so exciting. It was the first time calling each other, fiance, and it was just a very exciting period. We decided to take that time away in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Best time ever. Went ziplining, horseback riding, did all kinds of, really fun adventurous stuff. So that was a really exciting time, and afterwards it was just heaven, and still is, by the way, for those of you who were hoping I would say something different.
Well, we definitely had our challenges, and I think we kind of went through a honeymoon phase, especially at the beginning. We're just now getting familiar, calling each other fiance, so we're all lovey-dovey, we're on vacation, and that was awesome. But then things started to get a little bit more difficult because when you go from being boyfriend and girlfriend and you want to get married, you just talk about things in theory. It's like, one day we could do this, one day we could do that, but you don't actually have to deal with any of those things yet.
Yep.
And so now that we're engaged, we actually have to have these deeper discussions that will affect the rest of our lives. And so we don't always agree, obviously, and so therefore comes conflict. And so at the beginning, I would say we've kind of found our groove now. But at the beginning, we definitely were bumping heads a lot because it's like we have to make really important decisions that we've never really had to make in our relationship before. So one of the first things that we decided when we got engaged was to tighten up on our purity. And we have abstained from sex since day one, but we definitely were kind of playing with fire a little bit, seeing how close we can get to the line. And so in this engagement phase, we really just wanted to be like the purest we could be sexually so that we could, reap all the benefits in marriage. And so, that's been pretty good for us, actually. I'm like, why haven't we done this sooner? But it's been really good, and I'm thankful that we both came into agreement on that. How was it for you, though?
It was actually easier than I thought, to be honest. I remember doing a Bible study on the fruits of the Spirit, and when I got to self-control, I was actually watching the Fruitful series by Michael Todd. And when he talked about self-control, it was just a life-changing message for me, because knowing that every single day you wake up, you have the choice between giving into your sinful nature or giving into your spirit-controlled nature. Both of them just really changed my life, and ever since, it's just I look at sex and just intimacy in a whole different way.
Something else that I really wanted to do was just take time to be present, because we had just gotten engaged and people were asking us, when's the wedding? And like, where's your venue? All these things. And we're like, what the heck? I don't freaking know.
No.
When we were on the engagement moon, I kind of was like, what would it look like if we just stayed in this vacation mode for a little bit longer? And we stayed in it for about a month before we did any wedding planning at all.
More like a month and a half, but yeah.
Yeah, and at first, it's kind of like people tell you, you got to get started. Go, 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 go. You don't have much time if you're going to be engaged for about a year or so. Like, we didn't know our date yet, so we didn't know how long we'd be engaged. But, you're supposed to, like, everyone tells you have to move so quickly in the wedding planning process. And that just did not sit right with me. I'm all about, like, peace and just controlling, my atmosphere, my mindset, and whatnot. So another thing I was like suggesting is, so many people talk about how stressful wedding planning is. And what I've always, been taught is that you're in control of your own feelings and your own emotions. So I choose not to be stressed. Like, why would I choose that for myself? I don't have to accept stress just because everyone else thinks wedding planning is stressful. So I asked Serge, I was like, can you join me? Like, do you agree? Can you join me on this mindset of like, you don't have to have a stressful wedding planning season? He was like, okay, sure. It hasn't been stressful for us. And it's because we made the decision ahead of time this is not going to be stressful. So
I'm easygoing, by the way.
Sometimes.
Don't you? What you mean?
Anyways,
so wedding planning was actually an opportunity for us to work together and become a team. Just getting to learn about one another's strengths, learning to divide and conquer, and just learning how to be a better unit all around. So, what was it you wanted to say about people dividing tasks?
I feel like sometimes I hear that the woman will be mostly in control of the wedding planning process. And I remember you even asked me, you were like, how involved do you want me to be? Like, I do want to be involved, but like, I will, like, if you want to take the lead on it, I'm okay with that, but I like, just know I want to be involved. Let me know to what extent. And it's really been 50-50 because like, that doesn't work for us, having all of the work on me. I appreciate that you are interested, because some fiancés are just not interested in being involved in the process. They'd rather just let the other person do it. Again, might work for other people, but doesn't work for our relationship. So the teamwork part has been extremely helpful. I mean, I personally hate talking on the phone. So he's the one to call the vendors, you know, call customer service.
I get the fun part, just talking to people.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'll do all this stuff where I'm just writing things down and thinking through the strategy and the details.
We also got to learn how to better manage our money together, how to join actually our accounts together. That was the smoothest transition, to be honest. I was just like one day, hey, you want to join my account? And she's like, oh yeah, sure, let's go. Yeah. And before you know it, we now have a joint account.
So we have a joint account specifically
awesome.
For wedding planning. We haven't joined all of our money together yet. We'll do that later.
Yeah, but once we become one.
Specifically for wedding planning, it just makes it easier to have all of the money in one place, so that either one of us can, you know, buy what we need to buy. And we also kind of set up a savings plan. So I read a book a little bit ago called The Millionaire Mindset.
She reads a lot.
Wait, what is it called?
You read a lot. I don't even know.
Oh my gosh. I'll put the picture
you read
here
way
or
too
something.
Much.
But
you
listen,
way too much.
So it's all about how to manage your money like a millionaire. And so I use like this percentage system. So I shared that with Serge, and I was like, let's kind of do, you know, here's my income, here's your income. Let's take a percentage of it to set aside for savings. So just figuring out our incomes, our money, managing accounts, all that stuff, expenses, you know, budgeting, that's been another key part of this process. So I'm a big nerd, and the last little part of the thing that we've been doing, like at the very beginning of the process, just accumulating information. I mean, obviously we're still kind of doing that, but at the very beginning I'm just like, okay, how do you even go about this? Not only how do you plan for a wedding, but how do you prepare for marriage? That was my big focus, was like marriage. What do I need to know about marriage? I need all the books, I need all the podcasts, I need all of the resources, all the wisdom, all the information, so I can gain understanding and knowledge in this brain. So nerd. I was just like, Choosing Marriage was an audiobook that we kind of started to listen to together, but we never actually finished. But it's pretty good so far. So just that research mode, like I go into a research mode like crazy. And so that was the beginning of our process. But you're more of a, you know, learn through other people's experiences type of guy. So we're about to talk about that because we're moving towards maybe like more so the middle part of our engagement season, around January, February, March, April-ish. And so we did some things to learn in that regard.
I'm gonna go over here. Burping like a man, bro. What's wrong with you?
Stop.
What do you mean stop?
I've been trying to let it out lately. It's freeing.
It's free. Yeah, right next to me, and she's like, like, bro, I don't want to breathe your burped air. God. Anyways. Yeah, so towards the middle of our engagement, we started really honing in a little bit on what marriage would look like for us. So the first thing that we did, we actually signed up for what was called Marriage One Day at our church. It was actually just pastors, I guess, getting together, and then marriage conference. So basically just explaining, things to look out for in a marriage, what to do, what to avoid, and, best practices kind of a thing.
How to have God at the center.
How to have God at the center.
So everyone was married, but it was open to engaged couples too, but we just were trying to soak up and just be around married people
and just learn. Yeah, so that was one thing that we did, but we also joined a small group, or as it's called in our church, a connect group, it's called Together Loving Christ, or TLC, and it was actually pretty exciting because we got to be around a whole bunch of married couples on average who had been married for at least 10 years. If not longer. So it was really, really amazing to be around that group of people who were very authentic, sharing their experiences, and then pouring so much experience onto us. And we've just learned so much from that, and it's just really been impactful to us as well. So both were really great for us.
Yeah, and I would also add, we got built-in marriage mentors just through joining that connect group. People at our church that we can now go to for advice when we are married and whatnot, and people who've been married for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. So that's really, really blessed us for sure.
Wait, you know what I just noticed? Look at the flowers behind us.
Yeah.
Green, orange.
I don't know that.
Stop being a party pooper. If you noticed it, why didn't you say nothing?
I don't have to say everything.
You are lying. I just noticed it.
Lying.
She did not. I'm just pointing it out, okay? You did not notice it. Look at that. Look at that. We're so cute, bro. Oh, wait.
Something that came up in premarital counseling was we were asked, what do you do when conflict arises? What is your conflict resolution style? And so working through that and figuring that out has been really, really helpful, and something that we continue to work on. And also, something that I've heard is in marriage, the problems that you had outside of marriage, they get maximized. I wanted to say magnified, but both could work.
Intensified is better.
Sure, all the words. They just get bigger in marriage, and they don't go away or shrink. They just get 10 times bigger.
And impact.
Yeah. So we wanted to try to just get all of the things out on the table as much as we can while we're still engaged, and see what we can resolve, work on, refine, so that when we are married, it doesn't feel like it just intensifies.
Yeah. The only thing to add on top of that is just, although we're trying to get it all out, we can't. We know that, when you get into marriage, there's going to be things that will come out, and just as much as we try to get out, it's just to get into the habit and the practice of actually learning how to resolve conflict without ever getting to, hey, I'm going to raise my voice at you, or hey, I'm going to, bring out the D word and threaten divorce, yeah, threaten you with that, or, talk about, start cussing each other, all of the above. So it's just been a good practice for us.
Yeah. Brought up a few things that I've thought about, and I'm like, okay, next time I see you, I need to bring this up. And I've been bringing them up just in the past few days, and you're like, where did that come from? And I'm just like, well, I thought of it, and I felt like we need to talk about it, so we're talking about it. Like, it comes out of nowhere. Sometimes the Holy Spirit might be telling me something like, you need to ask him about this. And so the more we can just talk about stuff, the better.
He's been talking to her. Jesus.
So also during this...
Show your ring.
Not at the moment.
Show your ring.
Okay. Also, in this middle part of engagement, we have been continuing to do certain things that we've already been doing. So, continuing to go to church every Sunday together. That's a part of our love story, part of how we met. Serving together, again, huge part of how we met. So,
# ask her for the full story. We have a lot to tell there. It's pretty awesome.
So we continue to serve together every Sunday at church in the 3-year-old room. And something else that we are continuing to do is just become more
You're trying. I think she had a mental breakdown. Or it's not a mental breakdown, it's called a malfunction. There you go. A malfunction. 404 error. This web page is not working.
So something else we've been continuing is is making sure our families are well acquainted with one another, and just us getting well acquainted with one another's respective families. So it's a little bit challenging for us because his parents are out of the country. He does have some siblings that live here, but he also has some siblings that don't. So meanwhile, all of my immediate family is like 30 minutes up the road. So it's a little bit easier, but it just looks a little different for each of us. So me, becoming more familiar with his family is, of course, being in person with those who are here in person, but then also having like routine calls and check-ins with those who aren't in the country. And last month, his parents came to visit. They met my parents for the first time. They hosted a dinner. My parents hosted a dinner for all of us, and then I hosted a dinner at my place for everyone. So it's just been that like slowly combining and joining the families. That's a huge part of us getting married. It's not just us, it's also our families coming together.
It's very exciting to see our families come together. The first thing about marriage is, again, you can have sometimes frictions between families. And I think we're both very glad that our families are just, bonding so well and just loving on each other and just, truly becoming one, because that's helping us and that's encouraging us, as we go further into this journey.
Yeah. Something else we've continued doing is just dating one another.
Would you like to go on a date with me Friday?
Where are we going?
I gotta think about that.
Okay.
I'm taking you to a fancy restaurant. Is that better?
No, I don't want it.
I
want to go outside. It's been so nice.
All right. Okay. I got it. Would you want to go on a date with me?
Yeah.
All right. You want to go on a picnic near the water, the lake, wherever it is? Near the bridge down there downtown?
No.
You know you want it. Bro, you're so complicated.
We'll talk about this later.
Why you gotta go and make things so complicated? You know who that is?
Life's like that.
Hey, I love you.
So continuing to date one another, because I've heard that when you start planning for a wedding, you just become so consumed with wedding talk. And so that's one of the things we've been intentional about as well, making sure that we kind of like carve out specific time to talk about the wedding, but we're not talking about it all day, every day. Like, and he'll start to maybe bring something up, but I'm like,
no.
I don't feel like talking about this right now.
No, you're being nice right now. She's like, it's the end of my work day. You missed your time slot, boo-boo. So try again the next day. So, yeah, she does bring up a valid point. That is very important, because if you spend, 90% of your engagement just talking about wedding this, wedding that, focusing on all the details, when you get into marriage, basically, it's going to be like, well, we spent 90% of our time talking about the engagement. So what do we have to talk about? Who are you again?
So that brings me into starting new habits and new traditions, because we've continued to do several things, but we've also started new things. So one of the things that we started that's been fun is doing Bible studies, going to the bookstore that's just around the corner from my apartment. And on Saturdays, not every Saturday, but a couple Saturdays out of the month, we'll go and we'll do a Bible study. We'll just share what we are studying in the Bible individually with one another, so that we can kind of teach each other, catch one another up on what we've been learning from God.
And keeping God at the center. No, I do it better than you, bro.
Okay, we had to
we gotta
get the energy out.
This way, let's go.
What? You can't bump without booties.
That's right. That doesn't
That's
work.
too much. Now that we got that out, we're nearing the end of our engagement. So right now we're in May, obviously, but we've got June, July, and August left before we are officially married. So nearing this end stage, there's a few things that we've been doing. One is talking about expectations for when we're married, and kind of combined with that is dreaming about our future together. So this looks like talking about kids, which we've been talking about since day one. We already have their names picked out. We know how many.
Ain't nobody gonna know that until the day they're here.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But still just like talking about things we haven't spoken about so much. Like, what are our expectations for travel? Travel's something I really like doing. I know you like doing.
We love doing.
But we haven't done a whole lot together.
Yeah. It's going to be our first one for the honeymoon. So
first one where we have to go on a plane.
On a plane.
And so also just talking about what do we want our marriage to really look like. I had a big breakthrough at the marriage conference. It was something very simple that was said, but it was super impactful to me. And basically what was said was that your marriage is what you make it. And you can basically, design your marriage to look how you want it to look, essentially. Obviously not everything is in our control, but for some reason in my mind, when I was thinking about marriage, I'm just thinking like, you get what you get. Like what happens to you. You don't really have any control over it. Things just occur and you get handed the cards that God wants to deal you. And I know to some extent that's true, but I also liked how empowering it felt to say, here's what we want our ideal marriage to look like, and let's plan that out. Let's dream of that. Like I do that for my business, I do that for my personal goals, but I never thought to do it for our marriage, and to kind of the same way we decided this isn't going to be stressful, the wedding planning, we can decide here's how we want things to look in an ideal world. Of course, things will happen, but in an ideal world, we don't have to be passive about this. We can be active about it.
Yeah, that's very exciting to sit there and just go into imagination land. And it's great because then we get to really share with one another our expectations for what our life and our future together looks like. And it's at the same time, we're gonna get a dog. Maybe not at the timing you want it, but we're gonna get a dog.
I want a dog before the children.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Anyways, we're gonna talk about it, maybe off camera. But that's where see, that's a perfect example. This is where things like that come out. Like when we're dreaming, and then we pop out, things that we want or our expectations, and then maybe they might not align with some of mine, and yours are yours, but that's where we meet in the middle, right? That's where we get to have that conflict resolution piece. You have beautiful eyes.
Thank you. And one more thing that has been huge for us during our engagement season is
being present in the moment.
Something that I've seen people do too is they rush this season. They're so focused on marriage that they forget, like, we're only engaged. We're not married yet. And even before we got engaged, we would talk about marriage a whole lot, and I was like, let's just enjoy being boyfriend and girlfriend.
If only y'all knew how many times she told me that, because I was in engagement planning mode, I was in marriage planning mode, and every time I'd be like, so babe, what do you think of this for potentially your engagement and stuff, trying to probe her a little bit. She was like, stop. You're my boyfriend, you're not my fiance, you're not my husband, so no, let's not talk about it.
When you're engaged, you're still technically single, and that's the thing. Like we are still, we're not one yet. We're two separate individual people. And one thing that was huge for me when we got engaged was I wanted to live on my own. I was living with my parents at the time, and I had this huge desire to move out. And we kind of had a little bit of a tiff at one point, because I was like, the timing of you proposing to me, I just want to make sure that you understand that I really need to live alone for at least a year.
I planned everything to perfection. Because actually, it wasn't me, it was him.
I just wanted to be able to experience, it's true, freedom of like only being responsible for myself, having my own space. I'm a super introvert, so it's so important for me to have my own space. We are super introverts. And so, each of us, we live alone, and we see each other on the weekends. So there's lots of space for us to just like do our own thing. And I've just been milking these last few days, last few weeks, last few months of being unmarried, because we're going to spend the rest of our lives together.
The rest of our lives!
That's a long time. We're going to be married for longer than we've ever been single.
I mean,
so
for
it's
real.
Like, the countdown is for real. Like, we only have so long before we are legit, like,
we're
stuck
legit.
together.
We're stuck. Like, do you see that line? Like, it's we're bonded for life. Like, molded. Get closer.
All right, well, that's it for the video, guys. Hopefully that was helpful to you. We just wanted to share our engagement season so far and the things that we've been doing. Oh my gosh. The things that we've been doing besides just wedding planning. There's been a lot that we've been doing to prepare for marriage, but also to just enjoy the season that we're in as fiancés. So if you have any questions for us or any other videos you want us to make, feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to share this with anyone who might want to see it. Like, subscribe, all the typical stuff.
Social media stuff. Yeah, it's been fun. Thank you guys for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Okay.